Thank you all for joining us today. We're so grateful to have you on this webinar to learn about Lancaster City's new funding opportunity for small businesses. My name is Melissa Baez. I'm the Director of Entrepreneur Training at Assets. And today I'm joined by Lydia Walker, who is the Development Director at Community First Fund. So obviously in March of this year, the global pandemic disrupted our community like no other. And to protect the health and safety of our residents, we had the Pennsylvania Governor, Tom Wolf, order non-essential small businesses to shut their doors and essential businesses like restaurants and distributors to immediately and radically change their entire business model. But we know firsthand that the shutting down of the economy has created incredible challenges for us in the region's micro and small businesses. Businesses which we believe give our region its unique identity, fill its storefronts, provide jobs, and contribute to the economy's vibrancy. However, this fund was created over the past month in response to this urgent need of the Lancaster City business community in the midst of this dramatic economic shutdown. We know that federal resources have provided through the CARES Act has proven its importance and has provided resources, but we also recognize that due to the overwhelming need, they will likely be insufficient and have been insufficient and will not reach the most vulnerable small businesses in our community. But we recognize that powered by Assets, the community or Lancaster County Community Foundation, Cities Lancaster, City of Lancaster have all worked together to put together this emergency fund for small business. In addition to that, we've had an amazing turnout and advocacy from small businesses themselves who advocated and supported and launched the first arm of this initiative. And this group was Encourage Lancaster. Small businesses came together and put together a fund to support one another. Additionally, we had a collective of philanthropic and foundation support. The Lancaster City Small Business Fund was created through this initiative and this amazing collaboration. It's composed of both grants and loans to provide emergency relief to small businesses struggling through this COVID-19. The emergency fund was designed to help small and very small businesses within the city of Lancaster. So today I'm going to pass it over to Lydia Walker in just a moment to kick off today's overview of the funding. But before I do so, I want to inform everyone of our chat feature. This will be, we're encouraging everyone to post any questions that we have as we go along. And go ahead and post those in the chat. And what we'll do is Lydia will do a full run through of the grant overview and the loan overview, how to apply, what things to consider, just some facts, and our overall mission with this. And then once she's done with the overview, I will go through and do a Q&A with Lydia with the questions that you have posted in the chat group. So I will pass this off to Lydia. Lydia, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Good morning. As Melissa said, my name is Lydia Walker. I am the Development Director at Community First Fund, and I am, we as an organization are very proud to be part of this collaborative, and all of us are very dedicated to supporting the businesses in this, unprecedented time. So thank you, Melissa. As Melissa discussed, we really understand that many small businesses throughout the city have been drastically affected by this pandemic. And as a response, we have created these three avenues of support for small businesses in our community. And we do, as an organization, both Assets and Community First Fund, understand the absolute vital role that small businesses play in the creating, the vibrancy of our beautiful city. So we do hope that this is able to provide some support. As Melissa alluded to, there are many resources out there, including the PPP, but a lot of folks can't access these resources. And in addition, a lot of the resources just aren't going to be sufficient to support the huge need right now that the businesses are facing. So, as Melissa said, we have developed 3 different avenues of support, 2 grants and 1 small business loan. So we have our first small business grant. It is up to $2,500, and it's for businesses with annual revenues less than $250,000. Our second grant opportunity is for up to $5,000, and it's for businesses with annual revenues between $250,000 and $500,000. And we understand right now that many businesses are unable to afford additional debt. And so we really have designed this grant to provide additional, essentially free capital for businesses most affected by the pandemic. Our third avenue of support is our small business loan. So we have designed a small business loan product of up to $25,000. And this is for any business with annual revenues of up to $1 million. We have designed the loan so that it's 0% interest for the first 12 months. There will be no payments, neither interest or principal, for the first 6 months. And after those 6 months, from 6 months to 12 months, there will be principal only payments. So again, there's 0% interest during those first 12 months. In the second year, we will term the loan for 2 to 5 years, depending on the size, and we will charge a 4% interest rate. So who's eligible for these services? Really, any business that's located within the city limits. So there are some eligibility things that I'll talk about next. So businesses can only apply for either the grant or their loan. They are not eligible to apply for both. For the grant, we are only accepting businesses who have not received PPP monies or other SBA forgivable loan products and grants. And this is because we have limited resources, and we really need to prioritize the very best we can to those businesses most in need that haven't had the opportunity to access additional funds. If you get this grant, it does not mean you cannot apply for PPP or SBA monies in the future, so please keep that in mind. However, businesses who have received these funds are absolutely eligible still for the loan fund, and the assets team will be referring any folks who have received PPP monies over to the loan side. Again, as I had mentioned, because this really are limited resources and we want to make sure that we can spread these resources to as many businesses as possible, we are prioritizing businesses that have been most impacted by the pandemic. And we're also prioritizing businesses that are likely to recover once our downtowns and communities are back open. To do that, we are balancing longevity and profitability of those businesses prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. So how to apply? Really, we have tried to create the most streamlined approach possible, and we've tried to remove as many barriers as we could. To apply, you can apply if you're interested in the grant, you can apply through the Assets website, and that's assetspa.org. Or if you're interested in the loan, you can visit Community First Fund's website at communityfirstfund.org. On our websites, you will find links and instructions to apply. Should you need help, there is contact information as well on that page, and you're able to reach out to someone. I would, however, urge you to please review the fact sheets and the FAQs that are also found on our website. We do anticipate a lot of interest in these programs, and if we do get inundated with calls and emails, it'll only delay our ability to answer those questions. So I do encourage you again to review those fact sheets and FAQs. We've put a lot of time and effort into developing those 2 resources for you. So there is a lot of great information in there, and we do hope that it makes this process as easy for you as possible. So what you are going to find when you open up those web pages, you're going to see a link to apply. And what you're going to need, if you're interested in the grant, you will need your most recent tax return. So that's your 2018 tax return or your 2019. If you have already completed your 2019 tax returns, obviously we're going to want to see the 2019 one. If you haven't yet, please make sure that you use your 2018 tax return. If you are interested in the loan product, we would like your 2019 tax return. And if you haven't yet filed your 2019 tax return, we'll ask you for your 2018 tax return plus your 2019 internally prepared financial statements. So just your, your QuickBooks printout from 2019. So for both grants and loans, there is a online application. It's pretty straightforward and it's as sort of streamlined as we can make it. And again, there is contact information should you need support there. The applications are now open. They opened up at 10 o'clock this morning and they will be closed on May 10th. So you have about 10 days to apply. Unlike some of the other programs that exist, we tried to develop a system where people aren't feeling rushed and thinking they have to get everything together and put it in quickly as possible. We are not going to review the applications until everything is closed. So we won't making any decisions until after we have reviewed all of the applications. So this is not a first receive program. We really are trying to make sure that we're looking at all the applications equitably and we're balancing the needs of the organization and again, making sure that we have enough resources to support as many businesses as we can. We will be making our final decisions on May 22nd and we will begin dispersing the grants and loans on May 26th. And you'll be contacted again on May 22nd should you receive a grant or a loan. Again, I want to reiterate that this program is not first come, first serve, and we will be reviewing the applications in an equitable way and ensuring that there's enough resources for as many businesses as we can. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. I know that you have the opportunity to answer questions on the chat feature. So I'll turn it back over to Assets and Melissa. Are you on mute? Are there any questions, Melissa?
Yes. Hi, sorry, I was being unmuted. Thank you, Lydia, for sharing the details. Okay, so I was going through the chat and I will go through some of the questions and some of the concerns that have been expressed. So first, advancements of EIDL, does that count towards receiving any kind of funds from EIDL or PPP? On the grant side, that does count as being received or as counting towards any kind of funding being received from EIDL. So that would make you ineligible. However, we do recommend that you can apply for the loan, the flexible loan. Lydia, do you have any comments about that?
No, but we do understand that the SBA resources may not be sufficient to cover all of your needs. So we do encourage you to apply for the loan. Again, it's 0% for the first 12 months. And it's going to be a very flexible process in terms of getting approved. And after the first 12 months, it's a 4% loan. So it should be relatively affordable for many businesses.
Yeah, and to acknowledge the concerns here, we totally understand, how difficult this might be, and receiving very little funds from EIDL or just in advance, and the PPP not being sufficient. But we do want to emphasize again that the grant portion of this funding we're prioritizing individuals that have not received any funding at all. And what we're hoping to do and try to consider is that once we get through the first phase of this, and if there's additional funding left over, once we get that out to the first round of individuals, we will be able to open this up and possibly open a potential second phase of this funding for individuals who would then come next. See Kate's. Okay, so yes, we understand that the SBA does not mean that you're going to receive, or that receiving an advance doesn't necessarily mean that you have a loan. We do recognize that. Again, and we're just going to reemphasize the fact that the grant is prioritizing individuals and small businesses that haven't received anything, and we will continue to refer them over to the loan aspect.
And again, as I had mentioned, if you do go for a grant through this program, that doesn't prohibit you from applying for future SBA resources. So keep that in mind should there be a third round of the stimulus package, and while the second package is still open.
Lydia, can you talk about the timeline for this as far as when the application will close and what the disbursement of the funds look like?
Absolutely. So again, we have until May 10th until apply. So between now and May 10th, which is about 10 days, you can apply for your grant or your loan. We will be making our final decisions on May 22nd. So that gives us about 2 weeks to review all of the applications. And again, the purpose of that is, instead of a first come, first serve model, we're trying to make sure that we're balancing the needs, the actual needs that we're seeing come through, and seeing how much of the resources we can spread to as many businesses as we can. And then we expect to be dispersing grants and loans by May 26th. And I'm going to emphasize that the loans, we will begin the disbursement process on May 26th. But depending on how the loan is underwritten or the size, etc., it may take a few days after May 26th or a few weeks after May 26th for the money to be available. But we'll be, pushing those loans out as fast as we can. But May 26th is when the first distributions are going to start happening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, and if I own multiple businesses, Lydia, can I apply for assistance more than once?
No. So again, because we have limited funds here, if you own multiple businesses, I encourage you to look through the financials of those businesses and choose which businesses you think would be most benefited by a grant or a loan through this program. You can only apply once, and you can only apply for one business.
Okay, and then the same thing applies if my business has multiple locations?
Exactly. Yep. Same thing. You can only apply once for one business.
Okay. If my business is located in Lancaster City, but me as a business owner, I don't live in Lancaster, is that okay?
Yes, that's okay. So we are really, our goal, our priority in this program is to support the businesses located in Lancaster City. So if you live outside of the city, that's okay. We want to support your business that's really supporting the community in the city.
Great. Let's see here. If I am an individual who files for taxes as an independent contractor or a sole proprietor, am I eligible as a business?
Yes. So the type of business that you have is not, or how your tax status, I should say, is not, does not play a role in our decision. You are eligible to apply for the grant or the loan program. As again, really the only criteria is that your business is located within the city limits.
And then what are the rules around a business being a nonprofit? Can nonprofits still apply?
So at this time, if you are a nonprofit, Melissa, I actually defer that question to you.
Okay. On our end, if you're a nonprofit, unfortunately, you're not eligible for a grant. And I think the same thing applies for the loan as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
My business is a corporation applying for a loan. Um, why am I being asked to fill out a consent form for a personal credit inquiry?
So we get that question a lot. Really, they're especially from the loan perspective, and especially on the size of a lot of the businesses that we work with, there really isn't a big. We really view the personal guarantee or that personal ownership of the business as a vital part of our underwriting criteria. Um, we understand that, especially on a small business, the person really is their business, and so we do look at the personal background of that individual. Um, Again, though, that being said, we are a nonprofit CDFI, so our role is not to, we don't have a minimal credit score that we're looking at. We don't have a minimal income level of the borrower that we're looking at. We really look at the entire comprehensive package and how that business and that individual can pay back the loan.
Great. And can you just review the criterias one more time?
Yes. So in order to be eligible for the grant and the loan, you must be a city within, I'm sorry, you must be a business within the city limits. If you have applied for PPP or other SBA monies and have not received the funds, you are able to apply for the grant. If you have received money from the SBA, you are not eligible to apply for the grant, but we do encourage you to apply for the loan. And again, just because you have applied and received our grant, it does not mean that you're not eligible for other programs through the SBA in the future. Our criteria and eligibility really is businesses that are focused in the city. We are going to be looking at businesses that have been most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We will be looking at businesses, we will be prioritizing, I should say, businesses that were profitable prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and those that this funds will really likely to help and enable to reopen your doors once the economy opens back up.
Great. And I think to Anne's point about holding the standards for loan terms, is this application different from our standards? Or for your
When you say standards, would you please clarify? So I can say that we've created, for the loan product, we've created a more flexible product and a more affordable product. So it's, again, a 0% interest rate for 12 months and then 4% after that. It's a streamlined underwriting process, which means while we'll still be doing underwriting, we won't be, it'll be a smaller application. We won't be going back 3 years in your tax returns. We'll be looking at 1 year. And we also understand that many folks may have recent financial issues that are going to show up as they're related to COVID-19. And obviously we will not be holding that against any of the individuals that we underwrite. That'll all be taken into account.
If someone doesn't have a brick and mortar business, but they are located within the city limits, and they run their business from their house, are they eligible for the grant?
I'm going to defer that question to you, Melissa.
Yeah, so the business, again, needs to be registered in the city, just to clarify that.
Yeah. And, we are prioritizing businesses that do have a presence in the city and those that have, that are impacting the streetscape. Mm-hmm. But still, again, if you don't have brick and mortar, you're eligible to apply. But do note we are prioritizing those businesses that are impacting our streetscape of our city.
And to that point, can you elaborate a little bit more what it means to be a storefront business?
Sure. A storefront business is, really any business that has a door that someone can walk through. And so restaurants, retail shops, bookstores, cafes, etc. Those would be storefront businesses.
Wonderful. Lydia, are there any other points that you deem as important that you would like to convey to our listeners here today?
Yeah, I think again, we understand that a lot of the businesses are in this sort of very difficult place, and we are really interested into supporting as many businesses as possible. And we know that the pandemic will end, and we want to make sure that when the economy does open back up, that we you know have been able to support as many of the businesses we can weather this storm. So, I encourage you to really reflect for your business what makes the most sense for you, a grant or a loan. And then please make sure that you are applying for what makes the most sense, and do have some patience with us if should you have some questions and we're slower in responding. And I do encourage you again to review the fact sheets and the FAQs. They have a lot of information and a lot of detail there, so they should be a good resource for you.
Yep, and I just want to, we had another question here from Martha. Just to reiterate, if your business is registered in Lancaster City, you are eligible for the grant and the loan. Brick and mortars we're talking about brick and mortar just because that was one of the questions that was brought up. So just be considerate of that. So as a reminder for all, the application is live now. It opened up this morning at 9 a.m. Some key facts just to remember. This is not first come, first serve. We will have the application open through Sunday, May 10th. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to do so. This webinar has been recorded, so we'll have it available and posted on the website. And you'll also see frequently asked questions posted on there. If things come up, hopefully they'll be answered there. There is also emails on there if questions that aren't there or the answers aren't there for you to see, or that don't answer certain questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them as they come through. In the meantime, we encourage you all to take time, go through both applications, figure out which one you think works best for you. To reiterate, you can apply for one, either the grant or the loan. So until then, if anyone else has any additional questions, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.